G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another one of my EV realist videos. In this series I seek to inject a note of sanity into the breathless hysteria of net zero and EVs currently being spooked by our government. So if you like this kind of content, it would be great to have you as a subscriber, and don't forget to enable all notifications so you never miss another video. So one of the things we've talked about quite a lot in these videos is the charging infrastructure required to support a fleet of EVs. One of the major issues is that a huge amount of electricity has to be pumped into EV batteries at charging stations, and there is a trade-off between the speed at which those charging stations operate and the length of time it takes to charge a particular battery. So there are various levels of chargers from 7 kilowatts up to Tesla superchargers, which are 250 kilowatts. If you put a few of those 250 kilowatt chargers together, you soon get up to the amount of electricity required for a small village. And one of the concerns that I've expressed previously is that the grid is going to struggle in certain areas to cope with this kind of power requirement. Although the EV protagonists will say that that's not a problem, the grid can cope with that. I don't believe that to be the case. I think the amount of power that you require, even in a fairly small EV charging station, is enormous. There's no way of storing that power, unlike in a petrol station where you've got a huge tank of fuel underground. The only alternative for EV charging stations is more batteries. And as soon as you put batteries into the equation, you have all the same kind of problems that you have with batteries in EVs. The weight, the amount of minerals and metals that go into them, risk of fire, all those kind of things, just amplified many times for a battery the size that would be required for an EV charging station. So we have a bit of a conundrum here. We have the EV proponents who say, grid's fine, absolutely fine, it can cope with all the EVs. But then on the other hand, we have this kind of article, which is talking about something known as V2G, which is where the grid basically relies on your EV battery to prop itself up at times of high demand. So the grid on the one hand is perfectly capable and stable of supporting EVs, but can we have the electrons in your EV back please when we need them? So all very bizarre. Anyway, this is the article. These EV owners are making thousands selling energy back to the grid. When the interconnector between New South Wales and South Australia went down earlier this year, MGUY Australia and his Nissan Leaf was on hand to make a quick profit. One Friday in August, when the high voltage interconnector between South Australia and Victoria was down and prices spiked, Adelaide man Jay Nankivell earned $177 in 6 hours selling energy from the battery of his Nissan Leaf back to the grid. That was great for Nankivell and his family, but it also helped shore up South Australia's vulnerable power grid at a time when wholesale prices had spiked to $10 per kilowatt hour, 2/3 of the maximum, and assigned grid supply is struggling to meet demand. I thought the grid was so stable and didn't need to have any extra power added to it. The state's wholesale price averaged 92 cents per kilowatt hour for the September quarter, the highest on the mainland. Nankivell is one of just a few Australian electric vehicle owners experimenting with vehicle-to-grid charging, which requires the local distribution company to be on board and can only be done in South Australia at the moment, and only with a handful of EV makes. Vehicle-to-grid is something that is fast coming, and we're working away on the regulations and standards to make sure Australia is prepared for it, says Electric Vehicle Council Chief Bayad Jafari. It's potentially one of the most exciting technologies to enter into our energy system, where on one end, consumers can save around $2,000 a year on their energy bills by using this technology. Wow. The intermittency of wind and solar means that you have to have some kind of storage system or on-demand generation capacity to fill in the gaps when the wind's not blowing or it's nighttime. Currently we use gas because gas can be turned up and down just at will, which is fantastic for that. To replace that with a battery, you'd need an enormous, huge battery to cope with that kind of seasonal fluctuation. And I've got some videos coming on this which will go into more details. We've got another conundrum here because on the one hand we've got, you know, range anxiety because we're not sure how long our battery's going to last, but on the other hand we're going to say, oh, you can make a few quick bucks by selling your electrons back to the grid. You can't have it both ways. One day you'll wake up and you'll find that your battery has been sucked dry by the grid and you don't have any electricity to go anywhere. I don't know. I mean, this just highlights the fact that without gas-fired power generation, which you can turn up and down as required to fill in gaps in the demand and supply, it just shows that, you know, the grids are going to have to rely on consumers with their own batteries, whether they be home batteries or EV batteries, to plug holes in the grid. It also goes to show that the electricity market is so bloody volatile that you can make these kind of profits by buying at cheap times and selling back at expensive times. You know, if we had nuclear power supported by gas, you know, there wouldn't be this issue. All our electricity bills would be so much cheaper. It's so mad. It's utter madness what they're doing to the grid in Australia. And every quarter I see our electricity bill go up and up and up. I don't see any benefit for it whatsoever. Anyway, that's just about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you've got any tips or stories, you can hit me up on Instagram or by email. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.